Hey guys, so today I wanted to go over some of my 2022 reading goals. There are some books that I really want to finally read because they've been on my shelves for years and they are extremely anticipated. It's just that I haven't found the right time in my schedule to sit down and just read them. So yeah, I'm super excited to kind of set this and look back towards the end of the year, maybe even next year, to see if I've actually, reached and accomplished those goals. So that's like a serious anticipation for the end of the year, I guess. So yeah, some of the goals that I do have include rereading some of Shakespeare's work. Somewhere here I have a huge, beautiful leather-bound collection of Shakespeare's entire works. So yeah, I would like to reread at least 3 stories that I have read before and 3 new stories, so to make it into like 6. So I know that some of the some of the stories that I have gone through are The Taming of the Shrew, and I terribly enjoyed that. Naturally, Romeo and Juliet as well. If you go to a school in North America, more than likely you would have checked off Romeo and Juliet as one of the required books that, stories that you go through. And then another one that was so good and has a great movie with Marlon Brando attached to it is Julius Caesar. Yes, so I would like to reread those 3 pieces of work. And then as far as the new ones that I want to get, I'm not quite sure which ones I really want to take a look at. I think I'm going to flip through his stories and see exactly what I'd like to dive into depending on my mood. So here I grabbed Shakespeare's complete works. I can't say that right. But it is just such a beautiful brown and gold, and it's like a coppery type of color and red. I don't know. It's like not a burgundy, but it has this tarnishy copper rusty kind of color, and it's just in this lovely huge book. And I think I don't know what you call this, but it's like gold leaf lined kind of pages. They have that glimmer and shimmer, so I hope I'm not blinding you right now. Yeah, so that's what it is. Actually, it has Shakespeare right here in the front of the book, and every single story of his is in here. And this wasn't even that expensive, honestly. It was like about $30. So it was just such a great deal, and I decided to get it. And it feels very much so like the Bible because of the way that it's kind of set up. So it has a Genesis, Deuteronomy, Revelations, Gospelian feeling to it. So yeah, I'm super excited to really check that off as one of those things I want to get through. The Winter's Tales. Oh, The Tempest, maybe. Or I was going to say Macbeth. That's another one that I've read, actually. So maybe that one is fun. I know my sister remembers the first, line to Macbeth. Let me see if I can find it. And she does like a witch's voice because that's pretty much what's going on. These witches are saying, they're setting the scene. Okay, found it. Let me read it real quick. When shall we 3 meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain? When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. That will be ere the set of sun. Where the place? Upon the heath, there to meet with Macbeth. I came, Grey Malkin. Paddock calls. Anon! That makes me happy. Hurly-burly and anon. Yeah, so Shakespeare. I want to read him this year. Now, there is an author who has been sitting on my shelves for I don't know how long, Khaled Hosseini. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but I think everybody is quite familiar with these 2 books, Kite Runner and 1,000 Splendid Suns. I do believe Kite Runner might be set in Afghanistan, the Middle East, so I do believe that's what it is. And I know that everybody, almost everybody who has read this has really enjoyed it. So I want to be able to finally get that through and check that off, because they have just been sitting on my shelves and I have looked at them like, Kite Runner, I gotta get to them. And I love how they have nearly the same writing. It's like, oh, this is his signature, his marker. So that's something else that I want to check off and finally get under my belt. So Khaled Hosseini's work. And I do have another book from him somewhere, and that will be in a future book haul. So another book that I really would love to read this year, sometime this year, probably September, October times, because I do know that this is kind of like Alfred Hitchcockian. Everything has an Ian in there. Shakespearean, Hosseinian. Okay, stop. Yeah, so Paula Hawkins, The Girl in the Train. I believe Emily Blunt is in a film pertaining to this, very story. So basically this girl, she is riding this commuter train, and it is a day and night type of thing, to and fro work, and it looks like she kind of makes up stories about the folks that she sees on, outside, on the outside, those who are having breakfast and enjoying their lives in their homes, on the terrace and things like that. And she comes up with stories of like, oh, that'll be Jacob and Jessica, and their life is like this and that. I'm sure a lot of people totally do that when they do people watching, huh? But yeah, so basically it looks like she sees something distressing and disturbing when on the train this one time. Now she reports what she saw, and of course they don't really tell you because, it's going to give it away. But what she saw, she goes and reports it to the police, and it seems to have done more harm than good. So this is kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock kind of thriller, and I'm really excited to dive into this as well, because it's been, again, most of these 2022 reading goals, a lot of them have just been sitting on my shelf, and I've just been waiting for the right opportunity to just get a hold of these books, sit in a wonderful Slughorn-esque chair and enjoy these stories, because they're going to be good. I just can feel that they're, quite amazing. Hopefully they are, and I will report back, of course, to you whether they are or not. So another one that I do have on my list that I've had for the past 5 years or so, actually, is Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl. I have seen the film. It seems like a lot of these things actually do have movies that correspond with them. But yeah, I've seen the film with Ben Affleck, and I forgot the actress's name. It's a bunch of people. Neil Patrick Harris is in there, and quite a few other folks. I think Emily Ratajkowski is in there, and again, several people. It's very, very dark and disturbing and just uneasy type of film. So I'm quite excited to read Gone Girl, as it's been sitting again on my shelves for the longest time. And it has to do, with this just weird and like fractured marriage that is just like people are walking on eggshells, and it's just so, it's quite awkward. It seems that, somebody has possibly hurt their wife, and it's just one of those weird kind of ID channel stories. So let me just read a little bit of the dust jacket here. So, marriage can be a real killer. One of the most critically acclaimed suspense writers of our time, New York Times bestseller Gillian Flynn, takes that statement to its darkest place in this unputdownable masterpiece about a marriage gone terribly wrong. The Chicago Tribune proclaimed that her work draws you in and keeps you reading with the force of a pure but nasty addiction. Gone Girl's toxic mix. Exactly. It feels there's like a level of poisonous and toxicity in Nick's marriage. He's like one of the main characters, the main character, Ben Affleck's character. And it's just like, it's not a good time. It is very suspicious and ominous and just very dark. Yeah, so there's this toxic mix of sharp-edged wit and deliciously chilling prose, which creates a nerve-fraying thriller that confounds you at every turn. On a warm summer morning in North Carthage, Missouri, it is Nick and Amy Dunes. I forget if it was Dune or Dunes. I apologize. Their 5th wedding anniversary. So presents are being wrapped and reservations are being made when Nick's clever and beautiful wife disappears from their rented McMansion on the Mississippi River. Husband of the year Nick isn't doing himself any favors with cringe-worthy daydreams about the slope and shape of his wife's head, but passages from Amy's diary reveal that the alpha girl perfectionist could have put anyone dangerously on edge. Under mounting pressure from the police and the media, as well as Amy's fiercely doting parents, the town golden boy parades an endless series of lies, deceits, and inappropriate behavior. Nick is oddly evasive, and he's definitely bitter. But is he really a killer? That's the question. So yeah, it's just shrouded with mystery and just a lot of questions. So I'm super excited to get into Miss Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl. Alrighty, another movie to book that I've had for like over, I don't know, 10 years. I've had this book for so long. I started it and I couldn't finish it because I don't know why. It's just, I don't know. I think I didn't want to get into what this creep might have done to this little girl. And that would be Alice Sebold's Lovely Bones. Another film, and it has Saoirse Ronan, I think that's her last name. Stanley Tucci plays this grade A, #1 creepo. Marky Mark, I forgot his name. Mark something. I forgot. And quite a few other people. So I think it's Susan Sarandon is in there as well. But yeah, I can't tell you how much I love that movie. It was so heartbreaking, so tragic, so palpable, and just unfair. It's just the way that her life was taken. Like, look at me, I'm getting so like Susie Salmon. That's crazy. Yeah, she was murdered by I believe it was Mr. Harvey. And I've been wanting to read this book, and I remember stopping because I heard that there might have been little hints and inclinations towards necrophilia. And at my age, when I was getting into this book, I was like, I don't think I'm ready for something like that. You know, I could maybe watch that on Criminal Minds or hear about that on a spooky type of show, but I don't think reading it really just absorbs into every blood cell if the writer does their job right. So I wasn't prepared for anything like that, and I will check back with you if that is actually true. Nothing like that of the sort was in the film, thank God, but it just kind of was like inclined something disturbing, inappropriate, and completely vulgar and vile happened to this little girl by the hands of this grade A creepo. Yeah, I recall how beautiful the scenery was in the story. The acting was done so well. Saoirse is, a marvel in what she does. And Stanley Tucci, he is like somebody you don't even need to introduce at how well he acts as well. I remember, oh my gosh, I totally remember. I don't know if it was the Academy Awards, the Oscars, kind of when it was okay to watch. Today it's like, don't bother wasting hours like literally wanting to gouge your eyes out of how awful the Oscars and those kind of award shows have become. I haven't watched those things in years. But yeah, I recall when this was up for an Oscar, maybe it was a Golden Globe, but I recall, I think it might have been the Oscars. Stanley Tucci was like front row-ish, and he was one of the actors who was being nominated for Best Actor in a Picture or whatever. Or whatever. And they always show you your clip of your work, and he just was like, it seemed like he was disgusted with himself at the role that he played. Like he rolled his eyes and was shaking his head, and maybe even had his head, like his arm, like his hands over his mouth, like unbelievable. Because this dude, Mr. Harvey, the role that Stanley Tucci plays, is just somebody who just entices and seems to just reel in little children. He had this little underground makeshift type of wooden box room that he would lure the children in, and he used to build doll houses and just was like, you know, your neighborhood friendly guy. Not really. If I ever saw somebody like that, you better believe that I'd have my guards up. The hair on the back of your neck is going to be standing up when you kind of see folks who act and, you know, give off that kind of vibe and aura and essence. So I'm so excited to see if I can finally read this. And again, I believe I want to just, it doesn't really matter to read this around fall time, but the scenery that was done in the movie, it was just so beautiful, along with the music that was done with the Cocteau Twins, I believe. I think it was related to that movie, or maybe somebody did like a fan video on YouTube. I don't know. But I'll definitely put down the song in the description box so that you guys can go check it out. It is so beautiful, so magical, so ethereal, so like it's like paradise. It's eerie and whimsical, and just like that's a lively, out of this world song by the Cocteau Twins, and I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly too. Beautiful, completely indistinguishable, meaning that you can't understand what the heck they're saying, but you know that it is just like, wow, like you gotta stop and pause and listen. So yeah, The Lovely Bones. I really want to get this one under my belt. It just came to me. His name is Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, he plays Saoirse's or Susie's father in the film, and you could just feel the pain of like the loss. It was just, I really remember that movie impacting me, you know, terribly. I've seen it a few times, and it's definitely one of my faves for sure, which is why I ended up getting the book. Okay. Next one. So I received this as a Christmas present in 2020. Can you believe it? And it is Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
So he's an actor, and he's a famous actor. I think a lot of his roles are quite fun and enjoyable to watch, and I haven't been really disappointed by the roles that he's played. One of my favorite ones that he's done, I guess it would have to be very cheesy and definitely not a critically acclaimed role. It's going to be from The Wedding Planner, I think. Honestly, he's hilarious in it and very funny, and just hilarious and funny. He's just very good in it, and he plays really well with J-Lo's character. So The Wedding Planner, I guess. I'm trying to think of anything else that would be a favorite. I know a bunch of roles that Matthew McConaughey has been in. But yeah, anywho's, so it seems like it's going to be his life. It's basically the story of his life, and he has in here like lots of inserts about, one of the chapters is called To Life. I don't think you'll see that, but still. He's the one who wrote it. And it just seems like it's just about a bunch of lessons that he's learned during his time in Hollywood and things of that nature. So I always enjoy reading folks' autobiography, especially when it's an autobiography. My sister has always said those are even better because it's like, hey, firsthand instead of somebody else writing about you. It's like, oh, that could be a little bit kind of murky waters, and maybe you didn't get permission to say this account, or maybe that's a lie. And you know, so once it actually has the person's name written on it, it feels a little bit more like, oh, intrigue, like, oh, you kind of signed off on this, you're okay with it. So I have a bunch of autobiographies here from several different people. I know I have another one for Rob Lowe, and I intend on getting not just fun and famous actors. But yeah, I'm excited to see if I can really read Greenlights. So for example, in Marlon Brando's autobiography, you can kind of see how the person of topic, the person of interest, takes hold and control over what is going to be written, rather than, you know, what is written about them by other folks who may not know them. For example, tabloidy, trashy type of things. So it's like you're the one who kind of controls the narrative once you really have your name listed on your book or things of that nature, which I really appreciate. Of course, people can do biographies and those kind of works really well at times, but sometimes they do miss the mark. So I'm just going to read a little excerpt here from Marlon Brando's book. And if you don't know who he is, he's just this really iconic and legend. This amazing actor who has played in 1,000,001 roles that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. Last Tango in Paris, I believe, is one of them. I've never seen that. The Godfather, I've never seen that either. He has played in a musical back in the day, Guys and Dolls. He has played in a bunch of epic type of films, such as Mutiny on the Bounty and Sayonara, and he has also played in this really famous story where he screams out Stella! A Streetcar Named Desire. He has a bunch of things. He's played in Superman. Yeah, so he has the rap sheet. He's been in music videos too, and just really cool and fun career. It seems a little tragic because I have read up on him, but who knows? Maybe it's not because it wasn't his true words. But yeah, so I'm just gonna read this little section here. At first, he told me he intended. So this is basically somebody who's talking about Marlon's intentions, I guess. So at first he told me that he intended never to write his autobiography, to make available his private musings to satisfy what he regarded as the public's prurient curiosity about a movie star. He said would be just crass and degrading. But over time, as he changed in other ways, his attitude about recounting the story of his life shifted as well. He had persuaded himself, he told me, that there were useful aspects in setting down the facts of my life, and he set about to write his autobiography for Random House. So I think that's quite interesting as well. This next one here I've had in my collection for the past 5 years or so. It is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. She's the one who did Do Everything, Everything, and I actually have read that and I enjoyed the aspects of that book. It was really fun and the film was cute as well. Terrible experience actually going to see the movie in theaters because I was surrounded by a bunch of Neanderthals. Neanderthals meaning youngins. It was awful. Oh my gosh. Every single time there was a cutesy fartsy scene and maybe somebody was like looking at somebody and a touch, every kiss, the kids in the theater. I am not even old. I just was like, what the heck? They were like, ew! Like audibly, like I was like, are we having a sleepover here at the Cinemark? It was just so weird. But yeah, this book, Everything, Everything. Oh, Everything, Everything is the other one. The Sun Is Also a Star by Miss Yoon. I believe it has to do with this girl who has a Jamaican background. She is based off in New York, and she kind of has like that, that epic one-day journey with like her love. I guess maybe the person she should or will end up with. And the worst part about the story is that there's kind of like a ticking time bomb, a countdown almost, for her to leave the country because she is having immigration issues. So I think this is really interesting and I'm curious to read this because, again, I've had it in my collection for so long and I have read Nicola Yoon's work before and I did enjoy it. So yeah, I do have this here as one of the goals for 2022. Another epic book that I would love to get, completed this year is Roots by Alex Haley. There used to be a movie and a documentary type of series, short series, where they are, diving into the whole process of slaves. Alrighty, so I had to adjust some things and sorry if the lighting is a little different. So I was talking about Roots by Alex Haley. I do know that there is a an epic film that was done. I forget if it was the 70s or 80s or 90s, but there's an older film that is really well done and quite famous. There's like, you know, that line that a lot of people were repeating, I'm Kunta Kinte, and you know, they kind of like play with that moment where he, you know, he declares, you know, his true name and whatnot. So I don't know if you're familiar with that one. And I do know that there's a more recent version that might still be on Hulu, that is quite popular. So this one I've had in my possession for a couple of years, and I really wanted to go ahead and read it because I know it's like, you know, one of those kind of prolific works that one should read in their lifetime. So I'm excited for this one. So it's Roots, The Saga of an American Family by, of course, Alex Haley. Another thing that I wanted to kind of scratch off of my list are to get into some of the comic booky content and books and writings and works that I have, because they are accumulating, and I absolutely treasure my comic books. If you've ever seen little corners in the apartment, you'll see that there are posters and knickknacks and ceramic pieces and action figures of comic characters like Superman. I'm more so of a DC person, so that's those are the characters you'll be seeing, the Batmans and the Supermans and Wonder Womans of DC. So I have this really funky book here that I was gifted for my birthday. It's called Anatomy of a Metahuman, and you kind of have like a Vitruvian Man kind of image here of Superman. So I guess oh, this is also written by S.D. Perry and Matthew K. Manning. The illustrations are by Ming Doyle. It's such a pretty coffee table book, but even more so than that, it's just like a lot of different... Oops, something fell out. That's weird. I think it's just... yeah, probably some kind of subscription thing that actually came inside of this. So yeah, it's just those are some things that I really want to get into because they're very colorful and fun, and those are topics that I, you know, enjoy very much. So this is like Poison Ivy here. Yeah, and this book just pretty much dissects these metahumans and superheroes. You got Martian Manhunter on this page. A couple other things that I was gifted include these two detective comic and, well, action comic comic books, and they have a bunch of different little volumes of Superman and Batman's stories in here. So I'm excited to dive into that. The illustrations are just so beautiful and just so perfect, and the stories are of course quite vintage, and they're a little funny to read today because, you know, people don't necessarily talk like that. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to take a look into. So I have one for Superman, and then I also have one for the Great Batman. Yeah, so I want to go ahead and touch up on that. Although I do have some Kennedy works in a book haul that I recently did, I do want to have this listed as a goal in this video because I just want to kind of look back on it and say, hey, that is something I did accomplish. So this year I'm hoping to read at least 5 Kennedy works, whether it is a book by Kennedy or a family member or a political commentator or whoever, politician, it doesn't matter. I would like to read different Kennedy books, and my goal for this year is to read at least 5 Kennedy books. Because again, there are so many that I have in my possession that I've flipped through them, but I haven't been able to sit down and truly read and enjoy a Kennedy esque book. And it doesn't have to be, of course, Jack or JFK. It could be something on Robert Kennedy or the Kennedy family. So I definitely am an enthusiast, and I love, you know, reading about that crazy family. Another goal for this year is to try to read at least 6 to 10 different political books. So whether it is a political commentator or an actual politician, I intend to have at least 6 to 10 books read this year that just deals with politics, economics, things of that nature. So just these two that I have in my hand. I have a slew if that's the way to say it, various books by different folks on different areas of the political spectrum. So I have this one here. It is The Right Side of History: How Reason and Moral Purpose Made the West Great by Ben Shapiro. He is a political commentator, a conservative political commentator who has a podcast and YouTube channel and goes into his analysis and provides opinions on American politics, really. And sometimes he touches on global, politics as well. And this one I'm so excited to have in my possession. It's A Promised Land by Barack Obama. This is actually a relatively new book. I believe it was published in 2020, and I found it at a thrift store for like $3 or free if you want to look at it that way. So I'm so happy because this is a hardcover new book, and of course this is the 44th president of the United States, and I'm not quite sure what this book entails, but I'm definitely interested in reading pretty much this like a presidential memoir, and I just intrigued. I also want to, I'm gonna pop this here. I want to also see if I can tackle George Orwell's 1984. I did put that back as an option for a previous vlog. I just wasn't feeling it for that time, but that's a book, a must read for me for this year, 1984 by George Orwell. And the final two books that are must-reads for me, C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia. When I picked this book up at this thrift store, this is $3, and it's like a big mama. I noticed that it actually, so silly of me, had all the books in there. So we have, The Magician's Nephew. Yeah, so we have The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, The Witch and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Don Tretta, The Silver Chair, The Last Battle. So it's like several books rolled into one, and I'm so excited to see if I can possibly, what I really want to do is to read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, but if I can read more books from this, this set, I will definitely try. And then my very exciting last reading goal for this year is to see if I can finally dive into the Harry Potter series. It is long overdue, and I've never read Harry Potter before, and you will see that in a vlog that I did before. It's like a book haul vlog type thing, and you'll understand that I've never read Harry Potter. So I am so excited to see if I could finally read the series this year, because I just feel so left out. I have watched all of the films and have enjoyed them. I love the Wizarding World and the magic of Harry Potter, and what it all entails, the way that everything was presented. It's just such a fun and adventurous and imaginative concept, very original work in my opinion. But yeah, I just have apparently some people's favorite book and story and film, and this one is The Prisoner of Azkaban, the third in the series of seven books. Yeah, 8 films, 7 books. So yeah, I'm so excited to get into that, and I wanted to do more like specific type of vlogs for Harry Potter so I can get reaction, because I just don't know all the details. I've even watched Fantastic Beast, the first and second film, and know things about that. And again, I've watched all of the movies, but I have no idea about all the finer details and all the fun and comfort that Harry Potter has brought to people. So super excited to get into that. And I also want to see if I can tackle at least 10 classics this year as well, so that way I can kind of have a little bit of variance in my my reading diet, if that makes sense. Yeah, and finally, reading goals this year, I want to dedicate more videos to like challenges. So maybe I might have a snapshot of weekend, 3 days or so, trying to read as many books as possible. I also wanted to start a series called Narratives in Medicine, where I will be taking a look into books that are kind of focused on health and medicine and wellness and things of that nature, where the main character or the main idea and topic of it might be an outbreak, like for example the plague by Albert Camus. I guess that's how you say his name. Maybe Albert Camus. Yeah, so I would like to definitely do a kind of like focused narratives in medicine kind of thing, whether it be mental health or a brain injury, neurological issues, psychological issues, physical ailments, things of that nature, public health crises, outbreaks, things like that. Depression, the Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, or the Yellow Wallpaper, things of that nature that really just focus on the essence of illness and health. I really want to see if I could start a little series on that, and they'll be like focused videos on one particular book or essay or poem, and kind of look into that. And if there happens to be something visual that we can watch, I want to include that as well. So yeah, those are some of my goals for 2022 in regards to reading. It is a very difficult challenge in my honest opinion, because I haven't really read this religiously in such a long time, and of course some of these things may not be met, but that's totally fine. It doesn't mean that you're a failure or a loser or anything like that. It's just you didn't meet with it, you didn't reach that goal, and that's just perfectly fine. We're not gonna beat ourselves up for it, but it is, I love a challenge. So I'm super excited to kind of really have my brain absorb all these works and pieces, and see if I can find a lot of enjoyment and musings in reading again, whether it be political books, whimsical adventures, fantasy type of adventures, nonfiction works, novels and essays and poems, and classics and Shakespearean work as well. So all the like. So I'm super duper excited about all the the tasks and items that I have selected for the year, and I hope that I find a lot of enjoyment in reading again. I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.